Okay, ladies and gentlemen, at this time I'm going to call to order the meeting of the Town Center Committee on Friday, January the 14th, 2022. This is an unusual meeting. We have it partially on Zoom and partially being done from the Matthew Thornton meeting room in the town hall. We have a quorum here in the town hall, and the Zoom people can count for that too, so that's excellent. I ask everyone to turn on their microphones. The first thing, turn on so you get the little green light, because they have to have the green light on in order for the people who are on Zoom to hear us. The three people who are not present at in this meeting is Karen Contos, Kyle Fox, and Bill Wilkes. And the others all present, with the exception of Nicholas LaValle, who is on vacation today or is not at work today, so he is not present for this meeting. I'm going to, I'll be taking the minutes. And our first order of business will be the approval of minutes for the November 19th, 2021 meeting, which were distributed electronically to everyone. And I hope we're ready for a motion on that or any corrections or changes to those before we give them a final approval.
Motion to approve.
Okay, I have a motion to approve the minutes of November 19th, 2021, made by Bill Cummings and seconded by Karen Freed. And Karen, all those any discussion of the motion? All those in favor of the motion? Aye. Any opposed or abstaining?
Aye.
Okay.
I have to abstain, I wasn't present.
Okay, Matt abstains. The people on Zoom are okay with this motion or approve it? Anybody? I saw Kyle raise his hand, so he's okay.
Yes.
Oh, and Karen's okay too. I can't see Bill Wilkes. Apparently he has not got video on wherever he is, but Bill, if you want to chime in, this is your last opportunity to chime in for the minutes of November 19th. And since I don't hear from you,
Can
Bill.
you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, I heard you then. Yeah. Okay, good.
I vote to the affirmative. of the
Thank
minutes.
you. That's good. That means everybody's in affirmative except for Matt, who's abstaining.
Finley.
Oh, and Finley is abstaining too. They were both absent from that meeting. We'll continue then with our agenda for the day, which begins with old business. And the committee was distributed a copy of the TCC Town Center Committee annual report for the town yearbook. I distributed that electronically. It'll appear in the yearbook. There's not any action required, but you might, unless you have some objection to something I said, which I tried to give everybody an opportunity to see that before I sent it in. It's still possible to amend it if anybody had a problem with anything I said on our behalf. The next thing on the agenda is the status of the Woodbury Street sidewalks, which is the good news of the day. Kyle, you want to say anything about that? We did tour it last time we had a meeting. We all got a walking tour of it, and at that time it was nearly finished, except for, I think, finished coat. And how does it look to you now, Kyle?
Thank you, Nelson. Yeah, last time we met in December, it was still under construction, and we were hopeful that we'd be able to finish given the weather forecasts that were coming up. And luckily, the weather cooperated, and we were able to get the project completed. And it, as far as I'm concerned, came out great. We've seen people walking on the sidewalk. We've got a new coat of pavement on Woodbury Street as well. And hopefully it's very well received by the community.
Well, it's well received by me. I've seen people walking on it. There's nothing more rewarding than seeing people actually walking on the sidewalk that we got built. So that's good. Any other comments on that? I think we're done. I don't know if you need, maybe there'd be some follow-up grass planting or something if it doesn't take over the winter. I don't know. You
That's
guys-
correct.
But that'll be just part of normal maintenance, so, yeah.
Yep.
Any further comments from the committee on that?
Hooray. Nice job.
Yeah, nice job,
It's
Kyle.
It's exciting. Yeah, exciting. Nice job, Kyle.
Thank you. Dawn really deserves all the credit. She did the complete design from scratch, did all the permitting, the engineering, and the construction management of it. So, really great job by our town engineer, Don Tuamala.
Yeah. Well, thanks for
Thank you,
sharing the
Don.
credit, and I second all of that. I think she did a great job. Next item on our agenda is the status of the Sahegan River Trail. What good news do we have there, Kyle?
So, slow progress still. The good news we have, you'll recall the last time we met, we had been waiting for some time for New Hampshire DOT to approve a contract amendment to redesign the crossing of the impoundment to a boardwalk concept so we could meet the requirements of the Department of Environmental Services. So we did get that approval. You'll recall at the last meeting I mentioned I was having a meeting with our consultant and DOT with our new project manager. So we did have that meeting and it was really productive.
Oh, good.
So now the consultant has begun design of the boardwalk crossing and is working really closely with the DOT to work something that's amenable for both the town and DOT to make this a success.
Great.
Currently, we're getting bi-weekly updates from our consultant on the schedule. The current schedule, which I believe is realistic, calls for us to proceed to final design in August of this year, and then be ready to go out to bid in November of this year. We're still having issues with the historical folks. They still have not signed the memorandum of understanding or the memorandum of agreement on the historic aspects of the project. That's continues to be a frustration. One other piece of good news is the interpretive sign panels are complete. We consider them complete, although we still don't have approval from DHR officially. Again, they're I don't know if they're impacted by COVID or what, but they're just virtually non-responsive at this point. But we're moving forward as best we can. And I can't share the interpretive sign panels with you yet because they're not officially approved. But when you see them, I think you're going to think they're just wonderful. They're so informative, so much good information, and some really great, fun pictures of the history of that power canal. So I look forward to sharing those with you.
Well, thank you, Carl. I look forward to seeing them myself. I'm just wondering why is this historic review delaying, or is it delaying, or am I misunderstanding?
Your understanding is correct, and I don't have an answer.
Oh. Is this, yeah, I mean, theoretically, could they pull the plug on us and November, when we're ready to go out for bid, they say, oh, you can't do this.
The issues with their delays are we won't be able to move into final design without their approval, and we can't get a wetlands permit without their approval.
Yeah. I don't know what.
But we're not at final design stage, so we're not there yet. But
Yeah. Yeah, you said final.
it's a problem.
You said we had till August to finish the final design. Is that?
That's when we anticipate all of the permitting and both state and federal to be complete.
Yeah.
Once all of the environmental permitting. At that point is when we go into final design. So hopefully they'll give us what we need, and we can keep on schedule.
Yeah.
The schedule update that the consultant is doing every 2 weeks goes to DOT as well.
Yeah.
And so we're really driving home the point that no action is happening from DHR.
Yeah.
And we're looking at DOT to help us in that
Yeah.
push as well.
Okay, good. Does this new person, I didn't get his name, who is NHDOT, our new liaison, if you will, what's his name, and can he be helpful in this case?
His name is Tony Punton, and I hope so. Ours isn't the only project DHR is holding up.
I would hope not, yeah.
It's a kind of a systemic problem,
Yeah,
and it has been.
yeah.
It just seems to be worse now, and perhaps that's COVID related. I'm not sure.
Yeah. How do you spell his last name, just for the record?
Puntin.
P as in Peter?
P as in Peter.
Yeah. P-O-T,
No, P-U-N-T-I-N.
P-U-N. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I want to have him right in the minutes.
Perfect.
Questions from the committee on Kyle's report. I think it's better than I feared, but not quite where I wish we were. Any questions or comments or suggestions from any of the panel? No. I see no one here in the room. How about Bill Wilkes? I can't see. Or Karen, I can see. She didn't indicate any desire to speak to it. Bill Wilkes, any thoughts on this subject before we go on?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next item on our agenda is the status of the high school master plan.
Yeah.
We have Matt Chevenel with us today. Well,
Yeah.
we've missed him for a couple of meetings.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
In the midst of, the budget process, it makes things a little bit difficult, but I apologize for that. As far as the master plan goes, we've been having ongoing conversation with Stephen Keach. Steve met with the School District Planning and Building Committee. Steve is going to provide us with a few different renditions of design options. We're still awaiting that information, and once we have it, we will share it with this committee, we'll share it with the Planning and Building Committee, and we'll share it with the school board and anybody else who wants to, give input and take a look at the proposal and give ideas and recommendations. So right now, we're in that stage where he has enough information from talking to various people that he has an idea and witnessing it. Our one main issue is, the traffic at 2 o'clock to 2:30 when the high school lets out. That's kind of like organized chaos. And so that's the first area we want to address and one of the primary concerns that he has. He also wants to create a parent drop-off and pickup location also. That's going to be challenging the way everything is situated right now, because currently the parent drop-off and parent pickup, especially pickup in the afternoon, happens all over the place. It's in front of the high school, it's in the superintendent's lot, it's sometimes on the superintendent's lawn. It doesn't make a difference. You know, wherever you can fit a car, you're gonna fit a car. And that, with the buses coming in from the middle school, because they first hit the middle school, do the pickup in the afternoon, then they run down to the high school with the buses coming in via McElwain Street, taking that left to go around the high school. You have other cars coming out trying to get down McElwain. It creates a bottleneck there. So Steve's coming up with, it's not an easy challenge and task, and so he's coming up with a few renditions right now. So we'll be looking forward to those.
Okay, thank you, Matt. I thought every kid in the high school had his own car, the way they park out there. But
Yeah, seems like middle school. I think it's getting down to that point now. But yes, that is correct. There is a lot of vehicle traffic. It's lesser now than it used to be, but it still is a big issue with transportation.
Okay, now, this, of course, is going to be an impact. Our plans prior to this, I think, were that they were going to redo O'Gara Drive in 2022, and
Right.
this would allow us to build that piece of sidewalk that's missing there.
Yeah.
And it looks like that will be delayed
Till the next budget cycle.
Yeah.
We had placed that, we had discussed about putting that in the capital improvement program, but because of other items there are priority items that we have. One of them is a roof at Thornton's Ferry Elementary School. The roof has been proved to have insulation that is saturated in some spots. And if you don't address that correctly and swiftly, it can create a mold problem within that school, which is air quality, which is not any place we want to even go. Right now, there's no signs of it, but the insulation is damp and they can tell. So that's a $1.6 million piece that's going to be on the warrant for people to vote on, and we encourage them to do that. We also have several other items that are very important that's going to be on the warrant article. So the whole paving of the O'Gara Drive and the sidewalk was around $55,000, because it makes sense to do both at the same time.
yeah.
$500,000. So with all the competing things going on, the board chose to put it off another year.
Yeah.
And hopefully by then we'll have Steve give us some renditions so we can take a look at that. But the road is going to be where the road is. You know,
Pretty much,
it's
yeah.
it's not that's not going to be that's not a variable
Yeah.
in whatever Mr. Keach does.
Yeah.
That's not a variable. We're not moving the road. So it's you know, unfortunate, but it's kind of the way things are. We've been kind of holding back, trying to keep the impact of the taxpayers minimal over the last few years, especially with COVID and everything like that. And I know everybody can understand that, so we've kind of deferred some necessary maintenance items, and now those items are to the point where it's a necessity that they get done, and the Thornton's Ferry roof is a necessity that it gets done.
Yeah.
So we hope it passes as a warrant article in the budget. So
That'll
it's
be in
changing.
March of this year, or?
Deliberative session is March 8th.
Uh-huh.
The voting session is the second Tuesday in April. I think that may be April 12th, but I'm not sure. But it's the second Tuesday in April. So the board just approved the warrant to go to the budget committee this past week. And so that's on it, and it was a unanimous vote, and we'll be moving forward with that.
Uh-huh.
And we also have a teacher contract on there also. And, yeah, of course, the operating budget. So
Yeah.
we'll see how that all plays out. But it's unfortunate, but it is the way things are.
Yeah.
And so we have to deal with reality and how to best go forward. So
Okay, thank you, Matt. Questions for Matt on the on the O'Gara Drive sidewalk, which is the real subject from our point of view, but
Right.
nevertheless.
But I figure any publicity I can get out there, and I'm not, I don't mean publicity, but any awareness that I can get
Awareness,
out there
yeah.
of what's coming up and why is a beneficial results to everybody in the community. And people have to know why things didn't happen as planned. Well,
Yeah.
this is why,
Yeah,
so.
okay. Any questions from our remote participants? Questions
I
or
have
comments?
I have a question.
Yeah.
What's the fiscal year of this school district then?
It's-
Well, we're budgeting right now for 22-23. July 1st,
Oh, July 1st.
2022 to June 30, 2023. So that's what we're building the budget for. So the next bite at the apple would be 2023, 2024.
So the O'Gara sidewalk would be in that
That is
next
correct.
cycle.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Anybody else? Bill, you got any questions? Bill Wilkes? No?
I mean, this really isn't necessarily related to sidewalks, but, the whole plan, is there any more talk about raising that building that was bought, the old, whatever they called it, red building or whatever?
Yeah, the red building, and any rendition we're doing with the master plan, it is imperative that the red building needs to be raised. So that's something that's not budgeted for in 23-24. However, it will be a recommendation that Steve puts in there, because we need to do something with the parking, whether or not that's going to be a new central office, whether or not it's just going to be a parking lot. And we're going to stay at the green building into perpetuity, which is, neither here nor there. And so we'll see. But yeah, that is definitely something that is going to happen. It's just going to depend upon the timing in which it does happen.
I mean, so the red building and the green building, obviously if they went away, that changes your traffic patterns, and potentially there are pieces of sidewalk that would be included in that. And is Steve Keach gonna do some kind of sketch rendering at a minimum that might include a thought like that?
Oh, absolutely. He's looking. One of the givens is we want to approach the master plan with the removal of the red building, the removal of the blue house, and the removal of the greenhouse. That creates another area to do something creative with parent drop-off, parent pickup, and parking, and whatnot. So that would definitely be an impact. So that is definitely going to be one of the options. I don't see an option going forward that Steve will do without that in there, without that component.
Okay.
Good, thank you.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Okay. Okay, the next item, if there's any other questions, if not, the next item on our agenda is the status of the TCC Facebook page. And as far as I know, it's still working. I don't have Nicholas with us today, but if anybody had any inputs on that, I think it's working okay. I've visited it a few times, and there's some interesting stuff there. It ties right in with the Public Works Department and the work that they've done around town, and it's been a good improvement and a good advertisement for our committee. So I'll just leave it like that since we don't have Nicholas.
Nelson.
Yeah. Yeah, Bill.
Nelson, Bill again speaking, but I can tell you that I get hits, at least a few hits, it seems like every week, and it'll pop up on my Facebook page that somebody has either entered or made a comment or liked something on the Town Center committee Facebook page. So it's definitely working. The only question I would have is, where do we stand on that production?
You faded out there, Bill.
The whole Woodbury Street sidewalk project as a promotional item to put on the Facebook. Did you lose me?
We lost you there for a little bit. You best repeat what you just said. Bill, are you there? Well, there's still a few bugs in the Zoom system here. Bill, if you can hear us, we can't hear you, or we haven't heard. I know you were going to say something about hits and about something about the Woodbury Street, and we didn't get the message. And right now we
So
can't.
I don't know if you heard the first part, but I definitely get or liked or can you hear me now? Hello?
No, I can hear you now. Start over.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Not hearing you now. Well, we got halfway through the meeting.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear that. Yeah.
So don't believe everything you see on TV about 5G. AT&T, Verizon, or whoever.
Okay.
But my comments, briefly, were I get hits. I think Nicholas has me signed up as an administrator, so I get notifications that people have either logged into the Facebook Town Center page or like something in there and so forth, and I get that at least a few times a week. But what I was curious about is where we stand on the production of the video piece for the Woodbury Street sidewalk promotional effort that we wanted to do to put it on the town center site and maybe connect it somewhere else.
Yeah. I got you loud and clear now, and I don't have the answer for you. We don't have Nicholas here today, and I'll put it in the minutes, and we'll get him to report on that next week, next month, or next meeting.
Justin worked on it a little bit. I don't know if he has any, or if he's available.
Justin's in the back room with his headphones on.
I do. I can say that we have collected footage and stuff of different parts of the process. As far as looking at a bigger picture and like finalizing a video, I think we need to probably discuss what direction we want to go with that. Is it just looking at it in the different stages, how it came about, that kind of thing. But beyond that, I don't think we've discussed much beyond the production, other than just collecting footage. So that's as much as I have. We'll have to check in with Nicholas when he comes back.
Thank you, Justin. Thanks for filling us in on that. We'll defer that till next meeting. Finally, on old business is we still have an open issue with the Route 3 Babusick Brook Bridge, the status of that. Kyle, you got any update on that?
I do, Nelson.
Good.
So you recall last when we met in, I think it was November, we were still pursuing a FEMA grant to gap the approximately $2 million budget gap that we had in funding. The FEMA grant did not work out. We did not meet the threshold for the cost benefit analysis. So DOT, and you recall the funding issue was keeping us from moving to the next step of design.
Yeah.
So we worked with DOT in between then to get permission to move forward with design anyway. And what they did was they put a placeholder of non-participating funds into their system. Because like anything, everything is all computer-based now, and you have to check all the boxes to be able to move forward. So by putting that approximate $2 million into non-participating funds, we were able to move forward with the design. And so we are doing that. The right-of-way plan has been established. I'm working with our assessing department to get an initial schedule of values for proposed easements. And hopefully in the next month or so, we can start negotiating easements to allow for the project. At the same time, our consultant held a meeting that Dawn and I attended with the stakeholders from the utility companies in the area to start talking about utility relocations and how that's going to work, because that's going to be very complicated with the project. There's a water line, a gas line, a whole bunch of overhead utility lines. There's underground fiber optic ducts. It's going to be very, very complicated utility-wise to construct the project. Since all of that happened, the Congress and President signed the new transportation bill, the IIJA transportation bill, which is a 5-year bill for funding transportation projects. We met with DOT last week, and they have committed IIJA money to bridge that gap.
Good.
Pun, I guess, sort of intended, to make the project fully funded. So there's nothing holding us back at this point, and we're in full design mode. Construction is still scheduled for 2025, but if we're able to get the design done earlier, there is a chance we could go to construction earlier.
Wow. That would be terrific.
It would be.
Yeah. Thank you for that input. Any questions or comments on that? I have something to offer here, but I want to give everybody a chance to speak if they do. I'm on one of the library boards that looks after funds that were set aside for a new library someday. And we have a small amount of money that's left over from previous fundraisers and things, and we monitor that. At the last meeting, which was held earlier this month, myself and several others received a briefing from the chairman of the library trustees, and they have made a decision that they want to consider, now just consider, this is nothing final, they want to consider building a new library. And they have narrowed it down to 3 possibilities, and they have a favorite possibility. And their favorite possibility for a new library is the site of the MYA building, or adjacent to the MYA building in the Twin Bridge Park. And this has gone nowhere. It's just a concept right now. It's just their initial thoughts and recommendations. I wanted to feed that to you, Kyle, just so it's in the back of your mind. It doesn't have legs yet, but it's a candidate for a site for another library, for a new, larger library. And I don't know if you had heard that. I know they were going to go and they were going to be talking with you about it, among others. And I don't know if you knew about this, but I'm putting it on the table, just FYI at this point.
No, you're the newsbreaker. I had not heard that. That's great to know, and it really won't have much impact as far as the bridge project goes.
No.
The project where it would be more impacted if that happens would be the Wire Road US 3
Yeah.
intersection project, which is scheduled for 2027. So, yeah, that's great to know, and certainly we would include the library as a stakeholder in that if that should happen.
Yeah. Okay, just FYI. That pretty much takes care of the old business that we had. Any other questions from any of the committee members on the status of the Route 3 Babusick Brook Bridge? That's very good news that it's that near to maybe beginning to really construct. Our new business items for this meeting is the current state of plans for new library. It says, as I just already spilled the beans on that one. The Woodbury Street sidewalk, I think we're up to, discussion of Church Street. Yeah. This is an old thing that's been hanging around, and I wanted to put it on the table for a little discussion here today. Because back in, I think it was 18 or 17, we had a subcommittee. Actually, it was formed around 13. I was chair of that subcommittee. At that time, Peter Flood was chairman of the TCC, and was to look at building the sidewalk between the present library and the intersection with Wire Road. And that has several problems, and the biggest problem involved in that was the intersection of the sidewalk with Church Street, where Church Street comes down into Route 3. There's been accidents there. It's a safety issue, but it is very difficult to work because of the topography and the pitch of the hill and so on. At that time, we put together as I said, a subcommittee, and we worked with the neighbors in the area, with the senior citizens and those involved with the maintenance and operation of what we call the senior center there, the old school building. And also with the church. I met with the church trustees and so on. And we came to the town with a conclusion, with a recommendation to discontinue the connection between Church Street and Route 3. And that was the way we left it. We made a written we went to town safety, highway safety committee. They were involved. And we made our recommendation to the town council. And there it sits. It's been there maybe 5 years now. I don't see it ever appearing on a town council agenda for discussion. And maybe, Finley, without meaning to blindside you, you can, what?
Not at all. That wasn't a blindside.
Okay.
We haven't really spoken about it since those days, 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah.
My thoughts, my recollection is that when Babusick Bridge comes into clearer focus, I thought I had recalled that we would be trying to work that at the same time. I mean, I agree with our thoughts back then that will have to be closed. It can't, you can't build it correctly in order for it to flow into Route 3 with the sidewalk and everything else without major changes. The grade
the grades.
currently is, I'm sure Kyle knows, I don't, but I'm sure that it doesn't even come close to meeting what the requirements would be for slope coming into the intersection and everything. So to make those slopes appropriate and push it back for a sidewalk and all those things, it's going to be a big project. So we haven't talked about it, but I'm sure that at some point that likely will have to close in order to remedy that whole area.
Yeah, well, I guess my my question to everybody is how do we want to proceed with this? We certainly can get the council to discuss it. I'm sure they're not going to want to put money into that at this point, but at least to know whether it's alive or not, and whether there's anything we can do to bring it to fruition, because it really is an obstruction to building a sidewalk north from the library on the on the west side of Route 3.
If I could ask Kyle, if his recollection, am I thinking about that clearly, that the conversation was going to be happening with the construction of the Baboose Brook crossing on Route 3, or is that a figment of my imagination?
Yeah, that was part of it, Finley, and I think more specifically is when it comes time to actually do the sidewalk project is when the council was going to give it more consideration. Right now, we don't have any plans or funding for that sidewalk project. So I think the council's feeling was, why upset the apple cart now when we don't have a project planned or funded? But that when the funding did come into play, that would be the time to make that decision.
Right, because we are going to be addressing at some point the Wire Road intersection, and I think all those things were going to come into play in some fashion together.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay, along that line, I was concerned that the town council did not this year not as yet put any money aside for continuing to add to our sidewalk inventory in the town center area. And I had written a letter to the town council, and they did not respond. You all were copied on that letter. We sent it in December. So subsequently, I did talk with Paul McKaylee, and I've arranged a meeting with him next week to talk further on that subject and how we best approach this idea of piecemeal going about a little bit at a time. I used Kyle's memo regarding priorities, different segments, the 200K memo, if you will, the 200K per item memo. And I did use that as a background for other options that we might have. I know that our next priority had been to put a sidewalk on the south side of Twin Bridge Road, which would close the loop between the Twin Bridge Trail and Route 3, bring it back up to Route 3. He said they didn't want to do that right now because the council felt that there was something in the works for property back in that area, and he thought maybe that we could get them to get it funded by contractor work. I had no knowledge of any of that, but we're going to talk a little bit more about it, and I'll be able to give you all a briefing on that next time. But that's in the works right now, and it's kind of puts a block on that. And then we talked about some of the other connections and how they might a lot of these things that were in Kyle's memo have connections to work that's being done by the state, and so there's possible delays there. But it seems to me we can build pieces of this. And anyway, I want to talk to the town manager about that and get him on board. Actually, we had talked with Eileen some years ago about all of this, and we've got a new manager now, and we've got to get him on board as well. So I want you to all be aware of that, and that goes on next week, next Thursday or Friday. Questions or comments on that? The next item on our new business is the status of the TAP grant for town sidewalk from Fraser Square to 360, to Merrimack 360. Any news there, Kyle? That's scheduled for 2030 or something like that, right?
Yes, we don't have any news on that at this point. Right now, it's still not a project. What we have is a commitment from
Yeah.
NRPC and NHDOT that our project was selected as a funded candidate. Until the 10-year plan is finalized and all the projects move forward, we won't have official notice. And what they had said last year when they sent us the good news letter was that it would be sometime this summer, June, July, August, before we'd get official notice.
Yeah.
Once we get that official notice, then we'll move right into the consultant selection process and kick off the design. As far as when construction goes, as we're all well aware, DOT and towns have trouble spending this TAP money because projects take so long to design.
Yeah.
A la the river trail.
Yeah.
So if we, even if it's programmed for 2030 or 2032, which is the back end of the draft 10-year plan, once we get it designed, then odds are pretty good it'll move up, maybe even to the next construction year, because it is so hard to get these projects through historic and other environmental concerns. And I think for us, this one should have very little historic or environmental impact. Our biggest environmental impact is going to be what to do with the drainage that outlets into Horseshoe Pond, which is an impaired water. So that'll be the biggest challenge environmentally for the project, I think, but not insurmountable. So I think this one will be pretty straightforward.
Okay. We should all be here for that.
Fingers crossed.
Not that I'm sensitive to that at all. Okay. Okay, any questions or comments from the committee? Any committee members wish to speak to that issue? Just let you know what we're trying to do here. Finally, on the new business, I had the question regarding the winter carnival. There will be a winter carnival this year. It's going to be outdoors, all outdoors, which is the downside of it. As far as putting out a booth and that sort of thing, I did talk to Matt, and he said we'd certainly be welcome to set up a booth out in the snow, rain, or sleet, or whatever it is that we get. And I said I would bring it up to this committee to see if we want to support a booth. In past years, back before COVID, we used to have a booth indoors in the building, and it attracted a lot of interest. A lot of people stopped by. We showed our maps and gave handouts of our trails and all of that. But I'm kind of reluctant to talk about going outdoors with this booth because it's cold enough just sitting in that building with your coat on, say nothing of being outdoors. But I put it to the committee. If you all want to support that, we can see about it. I don't have the tent. The tent used to belong to the Floods. I don't know if we could borrow it or not. It's something we could look into if there was interest in doing this. But what's the feeling of the committee on that?
You know when it is?
Yes, I do. but I don't remember. But I can, I think I can look it up. It's February, and it's around the 18th or 19th, something like that.
I think it's the 26th.
26th, that's a Saturday. That makes sense. I think you are right. January, February, 26th. Oh, I didn't put it in my calendar. I believe the 26th is the right date, Karen. Thank you. I think.
What about if I wouldn't mind if going, what if I had some things and I could just walk around and pass them out, rather than sitting in a fixed location where it's cold?
I'm sure they would have no objection. That's supportive of our efforts and vice versa. And he's got a lot of things planned. So that would be certainly would be helpful in that you're not sitting still in a place. And we have handouts already made, so that might be helpful. Would you like to do that, Karen?
Sure. I wouldn't mind doing that.
Yeah, okay. How about anybody else want to help Karen?
26.
That's a Saturday, the last Saturday in February.
That week, I'm often gone to Western New York. I don't know if that's the plan this year, but if not, I can definitely stop in for
Yeah.
couple hours anyhow.
Yeah. Yeah, I could probably do it for a couple of hours. I
Yeah,
don't think I
and I
could
could
stand the
too.
day out there.
But
On the website, Nelson, it says it's from noon to 3 o'clock.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's good.
noon to 3?
Noon to 3. So maybe we can cover that with one or two people. Karen, Finley, I understand. Anybody else want to help out with that? Hand out brochures.
So the suggestion is not to make a stationary booth,
R-
but just have some of the pamphlets that have been created.
Have a pocket full of pamphlets. I think what Karen was suggesting is somebody with a pocket full of pamphlets goes around and hands them out to any able-bodied looking adult, see if they would like to know where the trails are. And so it's a way of publicizing what we do, and it's not too onerous from noon to 3. Even if you did it noon to 2 or something,
Yeah,
you get left early.
well, I could do that.
Okay, I'll put you in, and I'll be in touch with you.
Yeah,
And
those brochures, I'm just a little concerned whether, they have to be checked and if they might need to be updated or if there's information that now is different. That's my concern.
okay, do you have one? I
Not-
can get you one and look it over and see if you have any suggestions. I hope we can use them because I got a lot of them.
Oh, good, okay.
But if they should be updated, we can update them. It's
Well,
not,
I mean, we could even just cross something out that no longer pertains or something like that. But just,
well,
I wouldn't want to hand out something that is obviously is contradicted by the way things are now.
I don't think there are, but
Okay,
have a look.
Okay.
I'll make sure you get one. I'll send you.
yeah, just send it along and I'll check it out.
Now, we had two different maps. We had one that showed the whole interconnection with the Wildcat Falls, and we had another one that showed the Sahegan River Trail. So, we'll see.
Which is what I'm thinking about right now.
Yeah, that's the one that's more pertinent to all of the things we're doing. So
And if there's any dates or years or anything like
Yeah.
that, those need to be
Yeah,
at least removed.
yeah. The Woodbury Street sidewalk is now in place, so
Yeah.
that's definitely a change.
Yep,
Because it was showed as something we wanted to do.
yep.
All right, let's take a look at that, and I'll work with you on that, and I'll send one to Karen Contos too, and we'll see if we can, for Winter Carnival. Okay, that brings us to the end of the agenda. I'm open for public comments, should we have any. We have the usual crowd here in the Matthew Thornton room, and others. We need to set a time for our next meeting. We probably want to have a meeting, do we want to have a meeting before this event, this Winter Carnival event? Just so we have a last minute update on that? That would put us around either the 18th or the 25th of February?
Yeah.
What's the wish of the committee?
I can do either one.
Any thoughts? Karen, what do you think?
Either one works for me, the 18th or the 25th.
Okay. Well, it'll probably be a meeting here. I think we can get past this bump in the road and COVID. So,
I would just say, Nelson, the 25th is the last day of school before vacation. So maybe the 18th would be better.
Okay.
that's the first positive suggestion I've gotten. We'll make it the 18th then, huh?
There you go.
Speaking of that, getting here today was very difficult because the school was letting out
Yes.
at 11:30. There were buses galore, there was traffic, they'd stop everything on Babusick Lake Road, and what's your explanation for that?
That's a little thing called finals and whatnot, so
Oh,
they usually let out early when that happens.
okay, they're doing finals
Yeah.
after, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, because, yeah, there were lots of buses
Mhm.
and cars and everything else, yeah.
Correct.
Okay, so we'll say 18th of February will be our next meeting. We'll do it here unless something drastic happens. And we'll let that be.
Well, thank you, Nelson, for letting us do it by Zoom.
Oh, okay, well, I didn't know if I could, and you've got to thank Justin Slays for setting this all up, because I don't have the technology capability to know how to do this, but he jumped right in and volunteered to do it, and he's done a good job. Except for Bill Wilkes, doesn't show up very well on the screen. But other than that, it
That's
doesn't.
the best picture of me I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, if next time send us a picture and we'll have it here on the desk.
Yeah, we can even Photoshop it for you, touch it up a little bit, so.
That'd be a good idea.
I'm hoping.
Give him a goatee. Right?
Keep going with that.
Yes.
Okay, if there's no other business anybody would like to discuss, we'll adjourn, and I'll send out the minutes when they're, as soon as I can.
All right, have a good day, guys.
Thank you, Bill. Thanks for attending.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
we need a motion to.
We need a motion to adjourn. Bill Cummings moved.
And Karen Freed second.
Okay.
Thank you, Karen.
Karen,
Snappy second.
That was a quick and snappy second.
fine. It's 1 o'clock. Good timing. Thank you all.
Wanna vote?
Have a great weekend.
We need to-
guys.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
have a good
too.
weekend.
Thank you, Kyle. Thanks for your good news.
It's an
Sure
affirmative.
thing.
Yes. We're voting that.
Voting, yes.
Oh, excuse me,
Yeah.
Bo. Yeah, all those in favor of the motion, Made by Bill Cummings and seconded by Karen to adjourn the meeting. I see all hands in favor.
Yeah.
Yes?
The motion carries. Oh, and Karen Contos as
Yes.
well. Yeah. I don't, Kyle disappeared before he's not on the agenda. He's not, but I'm sure he was in favor.
I saw him nod his head.
Oh, that counts. That counts. Okay, thank you. Thank you all for doing this. All right.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Want to give me the